In this bass lesson, you're going to get the antidote to dull, boring bass solos. Instead, you'll learn how to get your solos to the next level without spending hours learning how to shred or slap, and you'll come away with a new approach that's going to hook your audience, keep them focused on absolutely everything you do, and make you make total sense. There's an old joke about bass solos. There's a married couple who are going through a hard time. They haven't spoken to each other for months, so they get sent to a counselor who tries to get them to speak, but no matter what he tries, they just both sit there, arms folded, refusing to talk. He pulls out his bass, starts playing a bass solo, and magically, the couple for the first time in months starts talking to each other. The couple asks him, "How did you know that would work?" And he replies, "Easy. Everyone talks during the bass solo." Now, this is a joke, but there is some truth to it, yeah? You may have even been on the receiving end of it. You've been playing behind everyone else, making the singer sound good, the guitar player, maybe the piano player, mandolin player, whatever it is. But when it comes time for most bass solos, what happens? You lose the audience. They start having a grand old chat between themselves. They might take the bass solo as an opportunity to go get a drink or go to the bathroom. Why is this? Do people just hate bass solos? Well, actually, some do. The biggest reason I've seen why people don't pay attention to the bass solo, though, is because most bass players just ramble endlessly. They don't hook the audience. They don't give them a reason to pay attention. So how can you fix this? What can you do to hook the people you're playing for and keep them fixated on every little thing that you do? What's the secret? It's not the super obvious things like stay in the groove, use the right notes, although you definitely should do those. It's not playing faster or using crazy techniques. In fact, you can use this secret right now if you want to. The secret is repetition. Think about it. Across basically all genres, every memorable song, lick, melody, riff, every good one at least, is at least a little bit repetitive. That's the secret, and it's incredibly powerful. Why does it work? Well, it's for a few reasons. Number one, people are hardwired to search for patterns. That means if you repeat something more than once, it creates an expectation in the ear of the listener, which means they'll want to stick around because they want to hear what happens next. And number two, it gives time for people to process what you've just played so it has more impact. Now, how does this work in real life music? Well, check it out. If I go like this, that might not mean anything to you, but if I follow it up with this, you probably know that song, right? In case you don't, it's the start of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. So we have that first idea, 3 notes and then a note that's below that one. What happens next? Well, we actually get that same kind of idea a bunch more times. It's repeated. We get this. Pardon me. Like that, yeah? Then finally, we get a variation of that idea. We get this. Yeah? We get that idea, we get a response to that idea, and then even the new idea is repeated before we get the variation. Yeah? Even the new idea gets repeated. That's why it's so memorable. All the ideas are connected and repeated. It's like a story. Now, does this still work if the song isn't hundreds of years old? Definitely. Most blues melodies are built on this idea of repeating an idea and then changing it. Check out any blues recording, pretty much, but the one we'll use for our example is Hound Dog, made famous by Elvis. It follows this pattern perfectly. It goes, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time." Then same idea again. "You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time." It's the exact same thing. Sure, the chords underneath, they're slightly different, but the melodic idea is the same. Even the lyrics are the same. And then finally, we get, "You ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine." That's a different melodic idea and different lyrics as well. We get this whole thing of theme, repeat that theme once or a few times, and then play something different. Either a completely new idea or a variation of that same idea. Once you know to look for this pattern, you'll find it absolutely everywhere. I guarantee it. So that's all well and good for melodies and songs, but how can you use this secret in your solos and make sure that you captivate your audience no matter what? It's simple. When it comes time for you to take the reins, make the very first thing you play something simple, make it groove, and then repeat it at least once. I mean, really, you can repeat it as many times as you want. But then you want to play something different, either something completely new or a variation. When I was studying at the University of Louisville, I had a professor named Jim Connolly who talked about the idea of a solo's opening statement and making that be super, super strong. And that's exactly what we're going to try and do over this practice track that I've got here in the key of B minor. So let's give it a try. Let me just grab up this practice track right here. Now remember, the first thing you play has to be simple, has to be within the groove, and it has to be repeated. So you might play something like this. Yeah, now play it again. Now let's change it up. Yeah? Oh, stop that one there. Now with this sort of thing, simpler is almost always better. If you try and get too fancy too early, you'll lose the audience, nobody will hear you, nobody will remember your solo. You have to earn the right to give them the kind of fancy stuff that you know you can play. Let's try a few more of these kind of opening statement ideas and grab the practice track back. Just down the minor pentatonic. Have a variation. Yeah? And from there you can kind of hang on to your ideas, change them, modify them. If you can string your ideas together and connect everything that you play, it's like telling a great story, and the best improvisers are just so good at this. You'll find them repeating their ideas over and over, modifying them, then coming back to them later on. Now, if you want to know exactly how the best of the best approach their bass solos, I've actually put a special bonus video together for you called Anatomy of a Bass Solo. In it, we'll look at an incredible bass solo by Willie Weeks, an absolutely legendary bass player, where he uses these exact ideas to craft one of the best recorded bass solos, well, in my opinion, ever. I'll give you the tabs for it as well so you can follow along and actually see how he takes his ideas, repeats them, changes them, and comes back to them. It's a real bass solo masterclass and it's totally free. Just click the link in the description, sign up on that page, and I'll send it straight to your email address. It's going to be a ton of fun, and if you take even one insight away from it, it may be enough to take your solos to that next level. Now, this last example we did was just over a kind of vamp, so it's super easy to repeat yourself. All the notes of the vamp are the same, so all the notes that worked before will pretty much always work. But what if you're playing a song where the chords change, where if you kept playing the same thing, you'd end up playing notes that don't work with chords? So does this idea still apply? Can you still do the same kind of thing? Definitely. You just have to change your approach slightly, just tweak it a little bit. Instead of playing the exact same thing, you can keep the exact same rhythm and the exact same shape of your idea, but just modify the notes so that they fit with the chords. Now, I've got a track here with a progression that's just the first 8 bars of Autumn Leaves, and you can see the chords that are up here right now. Now, this is definitely a progression where if you outline the chords and then try to repeat the exact same line over other chords, it'll get really messy really fast. So what do we do instead? We do something like this. Yeah? Yeah? Do you see what's happening here? The first phrase went like this. And the second phrase went like this. Yeah? Rhythmically, they're identical. The shape of the idea is identical. You're going up a little bit, and then down. Up, down. Yeah? The line is the same. The only thing that's different is the notes. We just made the notes fit with the chords. You could actually keep going with this idea all the way down, and you'd end up with something kind of a little bit predictable. You've got to be careful doing this. It's very easy to get carried away and bore everyone to death. The magic here, once again, is theme, theme variation. And this chord progression using the same idea might look like this. Slightly different idea. We want to vary it up here. Yeah. Idea, and then I obviously transpose with the new chords, and then a variation of that idea. It's the same exact kind of concept. Theme, variation. Do you see how that works? We're hooking people in, but changing it up before anybody even has the chance to get bored. Does this all make sense to you? I really hope so. Let's recap really quickly. You learned that most bass players just kind of ramble when they play and don't give the audience any reason to listen to them. And you learned that the secret to hooking your audience is to repeat ideas and have a strong opening statement. We looked at some real-world songs that did this, and you learned that to use this secret in your own bass solos, all you had to do was apply the theme variation formula to that opening statement. If you did that, then you'll have earned the right to play all the fancy stuff because your listeners will be invested in what you're playing. Now, if you do want to get your bass solos to the next level, make sure and sign up for that bonus video, Anatomy of a Bass Solo, by clicking that first link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I'm Luke McIntosh from IncomeBassist.com, and hopefully I'll see you in that bonus video. Cheers.